because there are certain herbicides and pesticides that are approved for use in organic systems, right?
They don't use synthetic. There are a lot of synthetic chemicals are banned. But if you have things that are sort of naturally occurring that are effective at suppressing weeds or effective at suppressing insects and things like that, a lot of those are allowed, yeah. But I mean, you would have to look at the national organic standards. And there are battles back and forth over what should be allowed and what shouldn't be allowed and what the impacts are. But even if you're trying to be completely free in your organic farming, completely free of any synthetic chemical whatsoever, you still can sometimes get residues of that through the water or through animal waste, that you might be applying as fertilizer or something like that. Because, our own government, our Department of Interior finds a lot of these chemicals in rainfall. So it's pretty hard to mitigate against rain coming down from the sky onto your fields.
Well, if money is an issue, as it is for so many people, how do you prioritize what to buy organic versus what not to buy?
How do you prioritize that? I know, right?
Yeah.
How do you? I don't know. Eggs, milk, fruits, vegetables. To me, that's what you should be eating anyway, right? You shouldn't be eating things that come from a box necessarily, right? Or processed. So, but I think those fresher foods would be the foods that would carry the higher residues anyway, than processed. If you're feeding foods to children, babies, you're going to prioritize that, right? We found evidence of a lot of baby foods. If you look in the government reports, you'll see a lot of, the applesauces or the actual baby foods or baby oatmeal contain a lot of pesticides. Maybe you don't want to be feeding that to your baby whose brain is, just kicking in and getting developing. So, I think you just have to prioritize where you are in the world. Right. Yeah. So how many synthetic toxins do you want to be throwing into your kid? Not very many.
Yeah, because it's like, the reality is, even if your diet is fully organic, which I don't think it needs, my stance is I don't think it needs to be fully organic, but, you're still being exposed. Every day to innumerable industrial toxicants.
Right. In the air, in the water you breathe.
So it's just like...
in the clothes you wear.
Yeah, exactly. So, you ought to, go a step further and do a little bit of due diligence to at least reduce your overall burden, your exposome, which I think is so important. But when it comes to foods like, bananas or avocados where you take off a peel, are those concerning to you, or do you think those are fine to consume?
Less so, I think. But, we did just have a story not too long ago about a scientific study looking at apples. It looked at a lot of different fresh foods, but the point was apples that they detected how far the pesticide goes into past the skin, and they were like, peeling your apples not necessarily going to help you. Washing it's definitely not going to help you.
Washing it doesn't help.
Washing is not going to help, no, because pesticides permeate the skin and they get into the meat of the fruit that you're eating or the vegetable that you're eating. But the deeper you go, they found the less pesticide. So if you take off the skin and you take off maybe a good hunk of the
skin, is where all the benefits are, though.
That's what I always thought, right? That's when I was growing up. My mom was like, "You gotta eat your apple skin." And
the pulp is just like, or the flesh is just like fiber and sugar and probably some minerals. But the skin, you get all the, all those natural, naturally generated insecticides created by the plant.
Yeah, but if you're buying conventional and that these have been sprayed, and they wouldn't have been sprayed probably just once, but over and over, and it's embedded itself into the food that you're eating, you might want to peel them.
And what about, it always shocks me when I think about, and you hear reports about grains, and the pesticide residues in products like oatmeal and wheat, because these chemicals aren't being used purely or merely as insecticides and herbicides with those crops, they're being used to dry them out pre-harvest to make them easier to harvest. Are they not?
Yeah. Desiccation is what they call it. Yeah. Spray it on wheat, as you said, lentils, oats. And so it's a reason why you would see a lot of it in oatmeal, for instance. But yeah, they do it in the more sort of northern areas where you have a cooler, wetter kind of conditions in the spring. You know, if you're getting ready to harvest and you want to dry out your crops and you want to even out your harvest schedule, they'll do this. And so when you're spraying this on the mature grains, you know, right before you harvest and bring it in and then you process it, yeah, you do find it. I wrote about, it was North Dakota, I believe it was, in spring wheat, and you had an academic up there and he wanted to test finished flour products and to see how much of this particular pesticide was in them. And he found it in every single flour product he looked at. You know, he thought that maybe through that whole process of turning it from grain into flour, it would eliminate the residue, but it didn't.
Wow.
So, yeah, and you find it in oatmeal all over the place.
Yeah, oatmeal.
Honey, organic honey. I got these EPA documents once. FDA. I'm sorry. Or was it? No, yeah, it was FDA. An FDA chemist, and he was testing organic honey that was sold. He just went out to stores around the country and had them all shipped in and then tested, and found these pesticides in these organic honey that were being sold to people, and went and reported it to his superiors and said, you know, this, first of all, would be illegal because we're not allowed to use these. They're not supposed to be in honey. And they basically just told him, you know what, don't even, like, we're not going to make a lot of noise about this. We're not going to talk to anybody about this. And yeah. And then, of course, I wrote about it, and then the honey companies got sued, which was very sad and terrible. And but yeah, it's hard to get away from.
Well, and how do the pesticides get in there? It's like being trafficked in by the bees,
right?
Is my assumption, right?
Of course, yeah. The bees are going out where bees go and pick up pollen and pick up things, you know, and they get the pesticides and it's in your honey.
Wow.
If you like that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.